Kerr, and you look at Steph and Clay, and even Draymond with his lack of performance.
He's in 2 in a row. 7 points for him. The twirling Doncic. Melting into the defense. The front carry. Strikes. Swing, fly ball. Well hit left center. Ronald Acuna has home. Rookie rushing record for the Steelers.
Look, he came into this game averaging 3.67 yards per carry. 42nd out of 49 qualified rushers.
Freeze to begin the third quarter. It has been incredible. Here he comes again. Oh, goodness. And the Greek basketball god. And he was a great guy to teach because
What is up, chat? Good evening. Welcome to the show. Todd and Bobby here with Ring 'em Up. Todd, how we doing tonight?
My brother, this is a special day in Rally Towel Sports history. Do you know that?
I believe this is our 2-year anniversary.
This is our 2-year podiversary, baby. We've been doing this shit for 2
Wow. I
years.
forgot about that until you said that. And then I looked at the date and I'm like, you know what? He's right. We started this May 25th, 2021.
Right before Memorial Day of 2021.
Wow.
That was Declan. It was right before Declan was 2 months old. I remember because he
What up, Rob?
Mary and I were trying to get him to sleep a little bit better, and we couldn't just could not get him to get down on the first night of the podcast, and I was so nervous. And we had to get all the audio shit right. We were trying to figure out that in your spare bedroom at your old townhouse, like trying to
we had both mics we had tried to work it with. I mean, man, we literally sitting in my stream room, 2 mics, and then there was a lot of bad reverb, and then we ended up just switching to one. And a couple of shows later, after we had gotten some feedback, Corey, Rob, everybody, thanks for liking the video so far.
Thank you,
man. What a long way it's come.
Spoiler alert for those that are tuning in or listening. I was wearing headphones in those podcasts, and I did not need them. We were both. I just remember being like, "Do I need to wear headphones?" Or maybe that wasn't early on. I think that's actually when Corey.
We didn't wear headphones when we were both sitting in there. We didn't start wearing headphones until we split it up, and you stayed at your house and I was at mine. And
remember, even when we started with Corey, maybe Corey, if you're listening, correct me if I'm wrong. I think we were still doing it in your stream room when we started doing the podcast with Corey. And I'd put these on, but I had fucking AirPods.
You had AirPods under. Yes, I remember that.
That's right. Yeah,
I forgot about that.
Yeah, because we were doing so. The way we would make it work somehow is that we would do a Zoom call with Corey, right? So he would zoom into the stream, and then I would have to zoom in from my phone and listen to it on my phone. So I would have like a 2-second delay to everyone else that was talking. Yeah,
what a ragtag thing that we had, where the production value in quality now is much better. It's much better than and a lot of that goes to Corey, man. Corey did a lot of this and got a lot of it hooked up. So thank you, Corey, for getting us on the level here with quality.
I would be remiss if I didn't say I'm very thankful for you, most importantly, in doing this, because you were the one that's been telling me for 10 years. Right. Even prior to this, like, you need to do this thing. We need to do this thing. And I just kept dragging. And you said the thing that flipped the switch. You said, you have a kid now, man. You got to leave something for him. And I was like, oh shit, you're right. I got to do something. And that was
now he can come back and see his old man, in his heyday, talking some baseball and football with the guys. Kevin Love starting tonight. Is he usually a starter? The answer is
yeah. So he usually plays about 15 to 18 minutes a game.
Not a ton of minutes.
And then they'll rotate the bench after that. It's usually like a Duncan Robinson, Caleb Martin as of late, because he's scoring out of his fucking mind.
That kid's been unbelievable. His story about how he actually got on the Heat is crazy. J. Cole got with whoever it was, somebody in the front office, and said, hey, you need to check this guy out. And he went for a private workout, and they signed him.
He has a twin brother that played in the NBA for a little bit too.
Oh, no kidding. Who?
Yeah. Shit. I knew you were going to ask me that question. I literally just.
Well, if you're going to bring it up, you got to that
I
information
know. Hold
ready.
Hold on.
Corey said, "Yeah, that guy lost me my parlay by half a point." Oh man,
Cody Martin played for the Hornets.
Okay.
Cody Martin played for the Hornets. Sorry.
Yeah, I mean we can. Go ahead. I was going to say we can touch on this briefly. I mean, obviously, Game 5 getting ready to start if it hasn't started already.
It starts right now.
Yeah, so I mean they're usually about 10, 15 minutes behind with all their pregame shenanigans, but closeout game for the Heat. Dallas avoided the sweep tonight against Vegas, down 1-0. Yeah, we'll see. I'm not very well versed on the hockey, but as far as the basketball is concerned, do you think the Heat get it done tonight?
I do.
Yeah,
I do. I know it's in Boston, but I just can't see, brother. This series is an example of why an interim head coach can't compete with an elite head coach in the NBA. Because you watch games 1 through 3, and just watch how dominant the Heat were. And this is not, the Heat do not have a better roster. I want to make that very, very, very clear. The Heat are not the better team in this matchup. But they've just been running that high pick and roll with Jimmy Butler over and over. And
no adjustment. Zero.
Yeah, and then when they did in Game 3, when it was too late because Miami was up by 30 already, and then they slowed down going into the first half, and then Miami comes back out in the second half and does the same thing, and I just don't understand, and maybe I'm overthinking this too as I watch the game and I'm analyzing why are you switching on Jimmy Butler? Why is Grant Williams or Robbie Williams or Jaylen Brown switching on to Jimmy Butler? Don't do that. He's going to beat you. Playoff Jimmy Butler will beat you in a one-on-one matchup. And then if he doesn't beat you, Bam Adebayo beats you because it's Marcus Smart or somebody smaller, Derek White switting down on him on the pick and roll.
Here's the thing with this series. I think it really just comes down to the bench play and the role players. Because when it hasn't been Jimmy B or Bam, it's been Max Strus, it's been Caleb Martin. These guys are hitting shots.
Yeah.
If you take a look at the Boston side of things, even starters, Jaylen Brown not really having a great series.
He's not. They're not shooting well from the floor.
Yeah.
And the crazy thing, do you know who the highest draft pick is on the Heat roster right now?
Yeah, it's Cody Zeller.
It is Cody Zeller.
He was drafted number 4 in the 2013 draft. I saw this stat.
Right. That's right. So they have been beating the Celtics with, I believe it is 4 or 5 undrafted free agents averaging double digits.
Yeah, you have Duncan Robinson, Caleb Martin, Max Strus,
and what is his name? Vincent? No,
Gabe Vincent.
Gabe Vincent. Yeah,
Gabe Vincent.
He's unfortunately he's out tonight, but
yeah.
I mean, this is all with undrafted free agents, and it's just, I think the Heat have done a nice job of getting situationally defined roles together in this series. I think
Corey appreciate it, big dog. Thank you for swinging through.
I think it's just they figured out they've slowed down Boston. They've forced Jason Tatum away from the basket, and the further away that you keep him from the basket and keeping him off of his right side to get to the basket, the harder it is for them to score. And you're right, the role players for Boston just they're not scoring at will either. And I can't understand for the life of me why Boston keeps throwing Al Horford out there for 30 minutes a game. I don't get. And it's
Robert Williams needs to be on the floor like for at least 35, 40 minutes. Williams is unbelievably good.
Why are Grant Williams and Robert Williams not on the floor at least for 35 minutes a game?
Yeah.
And why, like tonight? So here's who they started tonight. They started Jason Tatum, Al Horford, Marcus Smart, Derek White, and Jaylen Brown. Why is Derek White starting over Grant Williams or Robert Williams? I just don't get it. I don't get it. You've been getting beat on offensive rebounds and points in the paint. Why are you playing
Robert Williams has played some great defense against Bam, and he really hasn't gotten a ton on him. You got to put him in there and get him shut down off the rip. Get that mojo flowing and make the guys force shots. Make the other role players continue to hit shots because at some point it's going to run out. These role players aren't going to be hitting shots every single night, game in and game out. I mean, granted, motivation, the chemistry, the momentum, excuse me, is in favor of the Heat, even though they lost last game. Obviously they're up 3 games. So we'll see. If at most, the Celtics will take this game, but I don't see them taking this beyond 6.
No. I would be. Maybe they win tonight because they're at home again, but man,
Lord knows I didn't put any cheese down on this game tonight.
I did not either. I was scared. I'm scared of betting against Jimmy Butler.
I don't like the lines. I don't like the lines tonight. I avoided it hard.
Yeah, so it's just interesting, man. I think that
Rob coming in the comments saying the Heat just keep turning the ball over tonight. Yeah, I think you're going to see them start off a little slow.
Yeah.
Who knows? The Heat are known for their 15-point comebacks in the third quarter. Just wait for the third quarter. Third quarter will set the tone for the rest of the game.
Yeah. So it's interesting, man. I think that this 2023 playoffs has been the best one since the bubble year.
Yes, it's been excellent. Every game has been super exciting to watch.
Yeah. Even like the Phoenix's series, Denver series, the Lakers, the Heat, the Bucks.
Even though it was a sweep, the Lakers Nuggets series was still a lot of fun to watch.
They were close games.
Yeah.
They were all pretty close. They all at least got close at one point in time. Maybe let me rephrase myself there.
Correct.
They all got close at one point in time, and they were all interesting. And I think this is my personal opinion on this matter. I think the general public is being too hard on LeBron for the Nuggets being swept for the Nuggets sweeping LA.
I don't think they realize how good Denver is.
I don't. Okay, so I'm gonna make a statement here because we've talked about this on this podcast before, and I think I've gotten some weird looks about it. Nikola Jokic is the best player in the NBA.
Absolutely, hands down. No question.
He's better than Giannis. I'll stand on this fucking hill.
I have continued to say it. He should have won his third straight MVP this year. I don't believe Embiid should have won it.
Here's the thing. So Nikola Jokic
is proving that every single game in the playoffs.
So you look at the MVP. So by that statement, LeBron should never have lost an MVP from 2005 until 2017. Right. But there's guys that have the best year of their best regular season year within that year. Right.
That's correct.
Nikola Jokic has already hit his slot in the NBA where people just expect him to be almost averaging a triple-double nightly. And it's expected, and it's not sexy. It's not flashy. He's not great in the media. Joel Embiid is the face of the 76ers, right? He's the face of Philadelphia, or at least he's the face of Philadelphia basketball. He scores at will. He scores a lot. He gets a lot of rebounds, and he has these big monster blocks. He's exciting. He's interesting. It's different. That's the reason why Embiid got the MVP. I don't disagree with you. Let me make that clear. I don't disagree with you.
I think it's a popularity contest, and in that regard, Joel Embiid will win 10 days out of 10.
It's the same thing, and it's the same thing with the MVP in baseball too, man.
It's a popular, and I hate it. It should be a statistically driven award. Like who is statistically the most valuable person for their team?
As long as Shohei has an ERA under 4 and hits 20 home runs, he should be the MVP every year.
As long as he's healthy,
never not win the
MVP every
year. But
year.
Aaron Judge won it last year because he hit 62 home runs. Right? So that's kind of the parallel here, right? Is that Shohei has not won an MVP yet.
That's ridiculous.
That's insane. It's insane to think that Shohei Ohtani, a two-way player in Major League Baseball, and 0.00001% of players get to that play baseball past high school
for one position on one side of the ball.
Right. This guy has hit at least 20 home runs every year that he's been healthy and had a sub-4 ERA every year. He should always win the MVP because there's nobody else that plays in today's game that can do that or that has proven that they can do that year over year. Right. So that's my parallel to the NBA. Right.
Do you think there should be like an Eastern and Western Conference MVP? Or should it just be?
Oh, that's an interesting question. See, that's
league MVP. No. I don't want that. I was just trying to spark some conversation.
I see what you're saying because it's American League and National League in baseball. There's not an MVP within the whole. No, I think I like the way that the NBA does it because when you play, so the difference between 82 and 162 games is so vastly different. And baseball is such a unique sport where there's so many individually driven statistics. Now, basketball, obviously, it's one person putting a ball in a basket or grabbing a rebound or blocking a shot.
Sure.
But look at the MVP years of guys like Mike Trout and Chipper Jones and players like that, and all of the things that they did on both sides of the ball. You're like, oh, yeah, that's a real MVP. James Harden won an MVP, and he was a bottom 10 defender in his position in the NBA. That's the
never
big
have
difference,
an MVP,
right? So it's hard. I don't know. If the NBA were to split up the MVP title, I think it loses some of its appeal too.
It's already lost its appeal to me personally.
If the NBA continues to expand and add more franchises, I think you really got to start considering it. Because if you're going to have 16 teams per side, say, you got to think about it. It's like in the NFL, you have an offensive and defensive MVP, right? I mean, there's not an MVP of the season. So
right. Yeah, defensive player of the year type deal.
Yeah.
I mean, NBA has that, but I don't know. It's an interesting conversation. Josh, thank you for liking the video. For those of you that are in here and haven't already, please make sure you like it. Share it if you'd like to, and also follow. Those are all free ways to support the channel. If you haven't already, we are on YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, you name it, we're on it. But as far as one thing I did want to talk about, kind of switching gears here, we did get a debut this week, and that debut is Bobby Miller.
Bobby Miller, University of Louisville legend.
Harp, thank you for popping in the stream, buddy. What's up? I know this is something you're very passionate about, as we were exchanging text messages throughout the week. Dive into Bobby Miller and his dominant performance.
So I think you look at a guy like Bobby Miller, and he's a part of this new generation of pitchers that are coming in. The Jack Leiters, him, Grayson Rodriguez. I just lost his name. James Springs of the Rays, guys like that. These younger, really, really elusive arms. And Bobby Miller is a guy too. You gotta remember that he lost basically a year of college baseball because of COVID. And then he lost. So by losing some of that year in 2020, he then never played minor league baseball in 2020 either. So he basically lost a whole season. Those guys that got drafted in 2020 got absolutely railed.
Yes.
You lose the season of baseball. You're trying to figure out kind of like what your path is. LA was smart enough to take, 2.25 years of college baseball experience. I believe his ERA at Louisville never got above like 2.9. Something ridiculous. I mean, his Ks per nine his sophomore year was like almost 15.
Wow.
So yeah, it's a pretty wild stat. But they start him in high A ball. He has a little bit of injury. They're trying to figure him out, but they don't rush him, right? That's the big thing that LA doesn't do with Bobby Miller is they don't rush him. They don't make him a September call-up. They don't make him, they don't force the debuts. They just let him cook in the major. They let him cook in the minor leagues, and then he comes out with this, this debut and has 9 strikeouts in his first start?
Yeah.
In 5 innings, something like that. Maybe 6 innings.
Yeah, and also I do want to say that this new breed of pitcher that we're seeing, the Bobby Millers and Spencer Striders of the world. Tony, thank you for stopping in, big dog. How we doing tonight? Their quads are absolutely freaking massive.
So it's interesting. Yes, you're right. Spencer Strider to me is like the Shane Weatherford of baseball, where you look at that dude and you look at his body, and you're like, are you a fucking CrossFit athlete or are you a pitcher?
Right.
What's going on here? So Spencer Strider has become very popular for his quads. And do you know how those came about? How the quads came about?
No, I don't.
So
I obviously understand like what it has to do with pitching, but like not in this context.
So Spencer Strider had Tommy John surgery 3 years ago. Yeah, 3 years ago, and the team doctor of the Braves was like, "Hey, one thing you could do to take pressure off your arm is just strengthen your core and your lower body." And he was like, "Okay, I'll start doing that. I'll work on that." This man split squats 455 pounds.
Holy Lord!
He can lunge with 315 pounds on his back. It's insane. And look at the velocity that he has on his ball. I don't think he drops below 97 on his fastball.
Well, yeah, and he's taking more pressure off of his elbow,
and he makes it look so easy too. So people start asking like, how are you doing this? What's the trick? And he's like, just have a strong core and work out your legs, and the velocity comes from there. And Bobby Miller's of the same, even Walker Buehler, right? Another Dodger pitcher. Yep. You look at those guys, they have huge legs, and it's never, I think you see it more now in baseball because baseball pants, much like basketball shorts, have changed in the last few years.
They're much more form-fitting.
Yeah, and our time of baseball, and I remember it very fondly, it was the baggy pants era. It was the Manny Ramirez, Big Papi, that era of baseball pants where it was basically like wearing sweatpants.
Right.
And now baseball's kind of transitioned back to the slim fit baseball pants, as I like to call it.
Yeah.
So you get to see these guys, and how they're built in action. I mean, look at a guy like Aaron Judge. Hey, Aaron Judge is a bad example because he's just an athletic specimen, but look at his legs in a baseball uniform. He looks like a bodybuilder, a fitness model, whatever.
Did I send you that TikTok on Giancarlo Stanton, Mike Stanton?
Yes. With the guy that was his teammate?
Yeah.
That guy also, he's hilarious, by the way. Hilarious comedian. I just listened to him do an interview with Burt Kreischer because he plays young Burt Kreischer in Burt Kreischer's movie.
The Machine?
The Machine, yeah. Jamie Tarto, I think is his name. Jamie Tarto or something like that. Hilarious. Yeah, Giancarlo Stanton was the best football player and played every position, and then he was the best basketball player, and then he saw him play baseball, and
he was like, I understand why he's a baseball player now.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know if you remember early on in Giancarlo's career when he was Mike Stanton at that point.
Oh, yeah.
When Mike came into the game, that opposite field home run that he hit at the old Marlins Stadium, do you remember that?
Yeah.
Where as the ball went over the fence, it was actually still climbing. And as it was climbing, he ended up hitting it like 430 feet, and it cleared the fence by like less than a foot. He hits the ball so hard. It's nuts. But,
yeah. There's also another guy that hits the ball pretty gosh darn hard, and that's the number one prospect in the latest MLB prospect rankings. That is Elly De La Cruz.
Elly De La Cruz, ladies and gentlemen, for the first time in Reds history, as the prospect lists have come about, this is the first time we've seen a Cincinnati Red grace the number one presence on a prospect list. Nick Senzel is the next closest at number 3. That was 2017 or 2018, excuse me, when he hit the number 3 spot on the prospect list. But he was still I believe he was still at the University of Tennessee when they put him at number 3 on the prospect list. Very similar to the one now where you have Dylan Cruz from LSU, who's in the top 15, still not Major League Baseball. They've been doing it that way. Or this gentleman, his last name's Kyle, he's been doing that way for a few years. But I think this is the most excited Cincinnati's been about a baseball player since Jay Bruce.
Yeah.
Right? I think that's pretty safe to say.
Yeah, I mean, he had a slow start this season, but he's picked it up. I mean, the big thing that I read that I'm really liking is he's cleaning his at-bats up. He's walking more, he's striking out less, he's hitting pitches that he can hit, and he's not swinging at garbage. Which for him to be one of the youngest players in the minor league system to begin with, and for him to make this progress so quickly, it's definitely, very exciting, for guys like us who are, looking forward to seeing him next year or probably most likely towards the end of the season.
I think we might see him in June, brother. I think it's coming
early.
I think so.
Yeah, I mean, he's playing well right now. He was brought up. He's hitting the ball well. Senzel's finally looks like he's seeing the ball decently. I know the Reds, split the series with the Cardinals and lost today, but it's nice to see some of the younger guys stepping up. Stuart Fairchild got some playing time today, and that was nice.
TJ Friedel's back.
TJ Friedel, he had 3 hits today.
Yeah, he's a real. It's been a long time since the Reds have had a real leadoff hitter.
Yeah,
and they have one in TJ Friedel. He sees the ball
TJ Friedel's playing
he
very
takes
well.
A lot of pitches, and now Jonathan India could bat third, and I think that's important. I think that because you got to remember, India was a leadoff hitter for the Reds for most of his rookie year, and he has good plate discipline too. But Jonathan India has the ability to hit 20 to 30 home runs. And now I think baseball's kind of changed because I think everybody in the lineup for the most part has that ability, right, to be a double-digit 20-plus home run guy. But Jonathan India can settle down and he can start taking some swings.
Yeah.
Right. He can start taking some cuts. And that's something that the Reds have been missing. And it's helped, Friedel coming back has helped, Tyler Stevenson's kind of slow right now. It seems like he's having a hard time seeing the ball. But Spencer Steer, who right now is still in the running.
Spencer Steer looks good.
He's in the running for NL Rookie of the Year right now. I mean, I think you have to put him in that. It's obviously May, but you got to put him in that conversation because he's getting close to cracking double-digit home runs already. I think he either leads the Reds or is second on the Reds in RBIs right now. He plays a really good first base. I think that's important. The Reds need a first baseman if they're not going to put Tyler Stevenson there, especially if you got to decide what you're going to do with Ellie De La Cruz and Matt McLean and Christian Encarnacion Strand and Jonathan India and Novelli Marte. Like they have some really tough decisions to make.
And I'll tell you, man, I don't know if you caught the game today, but Luke Maile behind the plate is wonderful to watch.
So here's a fun fact about Luke Maile. You ready for this? Luke Maile and I played against each other in baseball for 10 years.
No,
he's our age. He's from Northern Kentucky.
That's awesome.
Yeah. So
thank you for liking the video. How are you tonight?
Luke Maile is probably the only person in the pros from Cincinnati that I've faced that has not hit a home run off of me. That's a fun fact. I feel pretty good about that.
That's one for the boys right there.
That's one for Rally Towel Sports, baby. Andrew Benintendi, gone. Adam Engel, gone. Kyle Schwarber, gone. That's fine.
Oh, yeah.
Luke Maile did not hit a home run against me, so I feel pretty good about that. I feel I like to hang my hat on that. And
yeah,
I mean, obviously.
You have to. So I would get that tattooed.
Thank you. I mean, that doesn't mean that he got a hit off. I mean, maybe he got a hit off on me every time. I don't remember that clearly, but I remember a lot of the home runs I gave up because they came pretty frequently.
Go yard.
They came pretty frequently as I got older because I threw a very level fastball. Now it was hard, right? I threw it hard, but it was very level. If I wasn't feeling it, it was a very level pitch. But yeah, I agree with you. I like Luke Maile a lot as a catcher for the Reds. I think it's good.
They're deep. They're deep in the catcher position.
Yeah, because Kirk Casale is also still there, and pitchers love Kirk Casale. He calls a great game. Luke Maile calls a great game. Tyler Stevenson calls a good game behind the plate. Obviously you keep him in the lineup specifically for his bat, but it gives the Reds the opportunity to give Tyler Stevenson DH at bats or first base at bats and not having to catch him 130 times a year. And that matters. Tyler Stevenson's young.
Can it stay that deep? They're going to have to it? Yeah, they're gonna have to dish somebody at the All-Star break or before.
Well, you got to think, and it's probably Luke Maile, unfortunately, but you got to think that the Reds are rostering 3 catchers, which means that gives up a bullpen arm or a rotation arm. Seriously, I mean that's where you compromise, and that matters to them too. I mean, you've seen the bullpen; it's bad.
Lucas Sims looked terrible today.
Yeah, he came back off the IL looking pretty good, and his last 2-3 appearances have been a little rocky. I mean, the taxi squad. Oh man. Okay.
Quick comment coming in from Tony saying, "Can we get a max speed from the high school days of Todd Gottschall?"
2008 and a fall showcase. I hit
Toddy G.
I hit 90 one time. That's the max speed, 91 time. And I would say if I were to give myself a nice rounded average as a pitcher, and let me make it very clear, I was a very average baseball player. I would say I hovered between 82 and 85. 90 was, I'm showing off for the 35 college scouts that are behind home plate, watching a guy that was playing for another high school that ended up getting drafted by the Braves. So I showed out. I tried to show out at least.
Did you feel your elbow after?
Yeah, well, back then I bounced back pretty fast. I think that the arm issues didn't exist until I guess, well, really that fall of that year, actually, the winter of that year. So that was like my last hurrah. But
gotcha.
No, it's funny, man. Talking about the Reds bullpen and just talking about kind of the current state of the Reds. I look at the rotation of guys like Sylvan Bracco and Busnowitz, fun fact, the Red sign from Japan. He had not pitched in the United States since 2017 before he came back to the Reds. Bronco, I think, has a career, let's call it between 5 and 6 ERA in his time in Major League Baseball. And that's the guys that they're climbing and signing and bringing into the bullpen and just kind of running through. Because, again, we still have no TJ Antone. That matters. That's important.
Absolutely.
Not having TJ Antone matters. We have a slow Lucas Sims. That matters. So you have to just run through all of these guys, whether it's, I think we're up to 20. Salazar pitched last night. We're up to 27 pitchers pitching for the Reds this year at some point in time, at least a third of an inning, something like that. So be ready for more. Be ready for a lot of Facebook notifications from the Reds saying this guy's making his major league debut, and then the next day seeing that he's demoted back to Louisville. It's going to happen a lot.
Absolutely. Rob coming with a comment into the first quarter. Boston up big. Boston is up 35-20. Derek White hitting a buzzer beater at the end from beyond the arc to put them up 15 going into the second. 15 is honestly not a huge deficit in this current playoffs that we've been watching. If for the entire span of the NBA playoffs, we have seen much larger deficits than 15 overcome. So like I said, I'm really going to be waiting to see that third quarter and what adjustments are made after halftime, because the Heat are the much better coach team, like Todd had mentioned previously, and we'll see if they can figure it out. All right. One thing. That the Broxton Rocks, that team that I was telling you about, with all the kids on it, Gary Sheffield, Manny Ramirez, David Ortiz. I did a little digging on there. There actually is something kind of crazy going on tonight. There is a female named Marika Lissick that is making her starting pitching debut for the Broxton Rocks tonight. She has been on a lot of, she was on the King of JUCO. She got a hit off Trevor Bauer. Yeah. So, and I watched like a highlight clip of her throwing, and she looks like she throws decently hard. So I'm interested to see how that turns out. I didn't get a chance to read the whole article because I think it was on ESPN Plus. I don't have that, but very interesting to know. The Broxton Rocks. It was did a little digging there, and it was really hard to find stats on them for the 5 kids that were there. I know they played summer ball. The team name is after it's a derivative. What did it say? A derivative of the Boston Red Sox, and a tribute to Rocky Marciano and Marvin Hagler, who are both from Brockton, Massachusetts. So that's a little fun fact for everybody for the day.
Yeah, this is very this is clearly a college summer team, and this is all
it's just a fun mess around summer league type deal.
Yeah.
But no, I'm interested to see how she does, man. Because she can hit. Looks like she had a decent decent wind up and delivery to the plate with some velocity, and there wasn't a lot on her movement and how hard she throws. I couldn't find anything on that, but I'm sure we'll have some stats.
I believe she's also Canadian. I think
she's from Canada.
That's the funnest fact about her is that she's Canadian.
Yep. Joey Votto,
man, let's talk about him for a minute, because I feel I have a very specific feeling about what's going on with Joey, and I think this is it. I think he's done. I don't think we'll ever see him play baseball again.
This is the last year of his contract, right?
Yeah. Yep. He continues to be on the IL, rehabbing a shoulder injury. His stint in Louisville was
terrible.
Bad. I mean, more strikeouts than hits. I think he had half of his total at bats were strikeouts. Here's the thing. I think if Joey Votto is smart which he is a very smart man,
Yes.
I think that he does not come back this year and he just hangs it up.
I mean, what else does he have to play for?
He doesn't have to play for anything, Bobby. That's my problem with him, is that I get really concerned about guys when they have these like big injuries at the end of their career that they think they have to come back and prove something to the world. Joey Votto needs to prove nothing to anyone.
You did everything for the Reds that you could in an era where they weren't great.
No, and here's the thing is that in a world of baseball where plate discipline went away,
he had it.
He maintained it. And not only did he maintain it, he had some of the best plate discipline in the history of the game. He's the top 15 all time in on base percentage.
Yeah.
That's Cooperstown worthy when you start talking about who the people that he's in that group with, right? And it's frustrating that everybody's kind of shitting on Joey for not coming back. Everybody's like, well, when's he going to come back? What's he doing? Why is he still hurt? Think about all the things that Joey Votto has done for the Reds community through all of the trials and tribulations that we've been through since 2007 when he made his debut. We had to deal with the Giants series. We dealt with a no-hitter, the Roy Halladay no-hitter / perfect game. We dealt with all of the 2012 to 2018 when it was a fucking shitstorm of a team.
Yep.
The COVID year, like Joey Votto has been the most consistent thing in the city of Cincinnati of the 21st century.
Absolute fact.
Maybe other than Tin Roof or the Holy Grail. You know what? I'm for real though. Think about it. Like,
you're right.
He's the only thing that's been consistent through all, and across all sports. Look at football, man. There was a lot of heartache in Cincinnati on the Bengals side, and there's been really, really bad times in Cincinnati, and obviously everybody's kind of riding high right now. And Joe Burrow is the most loved person in the city, but Joey Votto has been the one thing that's been there every single year for a Cincinnati sports fan. And the fact that people were just quick to turn on Joey Votto makes me kind of sick.
Yeah, it's this is a guy that's kept a great attitude, playing for a franchise that does not care about its fans.
No, not at all.
He's one of the guys that kept you going to the stadium, kept you going to the ballpark to support him, because you realize, not showing up because the owner's a POS doesn't. It impacts the players. If there's nobody in the stands, like they're like, what do we have to play for? And I understand that going to the stadium gives the ownership money, but you're also got to understand that you got to go there and support your team too. So not really sure where I'm trying to go with that, but
no, I understand what you're saying. You're just saying, you have a guy like Joey Votto who is really the only reason a lot of people came, right, for a while, because we saw Jay Bruce kind of fade in and fade out. I mean, the shift, I still firmly believe the shift has ruined Jay Bruce's career.
Yes.
I'll die on that hill too. If the rules were in place today that in place in 2008 to 2014, Jay Bruce would have been an all-star every single year and probably been a 30-30-20 guy. The shift ruined his career. But that 2010 year where Joey Votto had that MVP year, how special of baseball that he played. That's 200 hits, 30 doubles, 30 home runs, 100 RBIs, plus 300 average. How could you just forget about that when a guy's injured? And that's the thing that pisses me off about Reds fans and about Cincinnati fans as a whole. And, I'm guilty of talking my shit from time to time about the Reds. I've come on here and said some pretty abrasive things about Cincinnati as a whole, but God damn, this dude has been the only thing for the Reds that's been there for you.
Yeah.
And people just turn their back on him so fast because he's not playing every day and hitting less than 200? Because that's what would happen.
15 years.
Yeah. Well, what would happen if Joey Votto came back tomorrow? He'd hit less than 200. He'd strike out 2 times a game, and people would be even harder on him.
Yep.
Just don't do that. Be thankful that as a Reds fan, you got to spend the last decade and a half watching one of the best at-bat hitters. And what I mean by that is a guy that controls the at-bat in the history of the game, where the at-bat has been swayed significantly back to the pitcher in the last 10 years.
Yeah.
So appreciate that and respect that. And don't shit on Joey Votto for being responsible for his body.
Yeah.
Because
I mean, it happens. He's getting old.
Yeah, life is bigger than baseball. Unfortunately, that's true. And I think people forget that sometimes. And I just want to make sure I make it very clear that, for a guy that has damn near 500 doubles like Joey Votto does, that nobody should be shitting on him in his career. Everybody should be thanking him for the time that he gave the city of Cincinnati.
Absolutely. And, it's he's one of the best hitters of the modern era. Up to this point. I mean, when it comes to plate discipline and his ability to work pitchers and get his pitch or walk, whatever that was. I mean, he was one of the best people to ever do it. And I think you could make. I think he's done.
I think you can make an argument that Joey Votto is the best hitter of the 21st century as a whole.
Miguel Cabrera.
I mean, and he's in the conversation, but I think you can make an argument for it.
I think I think
Joey Votto's on base percentage. Yeah, Joey Votto's on base percentage is higher than Miguel Cabrera's. Now that's hard to say because Miguel Cabrera is the 3,000 hit Triple Crown winner. So, I mean, you got obviously he's in the conversation. Albert Pujols is in the conversation as well. But you just put at bats up to at bats of those three guys. I think if you were to put those statistics between the three of them and take hits out of it.
I would like to put those stats side by side and let you pick who's who.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I think you put those three together, take hits out of the conversation because obviously Joey's at probably roughly, I mean, you can fact check me on this. He's probably around like 2,200 hits, 2,100 hits, somewhere in that ballpark. I know he cracked 2,000 last year. But so he's probably around, maybe he's probably closer to 2,100 than 2,200 then.
The old baseball reference.
I mean, you put those three guys together and you look at WAR, OPS, on base percentage, and then total quality at bats at bats in a year. I think Joey Votto wins that conversation.
I'm pulling it all up now.
Yeah, I mean that dude.
This is an interesting question.
Yeah, I mean he gave so much. There was a lot of time and a lot of effort, and there were a lot of people that didn't like Joey Votto because they thought he was arrogant or they thought he was, that he's bad, he's not good in the public eye or whatever. And then,
they're both above three. They're both above 3,000 hits. Pujols and Cabrera. Pujols has the most.
Yeah. Pujols is in the top 10, I think, in hits now, right? Or top 12. Let me fact check myself on that.
Only one of them is in a career 300 hitter. They're all sniffing it, though. Or two of them are sniffing it. One of them's above. Let's check the on base. Oh, yeah. Wow.
Yeah, Pujols is 9th all time in hits. That dude's got he has almost 3,500 or 3,400.
Yeah, he's up there.
Yeah, he played. Think about if Albert
Votto needs to never take another at bat because his career slugging percentage is .513. He just needs to hang it up.
Oh, that's so cool.
Don't take another at bat.
That's definitely a doubles. The doubles attributed to Votto having such a high slugging percentage there. That's nuts.
Yeah, he's got 2,093 hits, 342 career homers, career 297 hitter, 80 stolen bases. His on base percentage is .412.
So that means
400.
So 4 out of 10 times is getting on base.
And that is better than both of them by at least 30 points and more for one of the others.
Yep.
So
that's what I'm saying, dude. That's what I'm saying. I mean, you put it. Okay. I want to make sure I say this the right way because I don't want to discredit what both of those guys have done. It matters how many times you get on base. Hits matter, right? 3,000 hits matters. That's an absolute insane milestone to have in Major League Baseball. But to be on base 40% of the time it matters equally the same, if not more, to me.
Well, you got to think they both have way more years on them. Pujols played 22 years, but Cabrera played 21. Votto's technically only played 16 years.
Yeah. Yeah, and gosh, I don't know if Cabrera's obviously playing with the Tigers now on his downswing, right. But when Cabrera first got to Detroit, they had bad years too, but the time where he was in Detroit were some of the best years the Tigers have had. They made the World Series twice with him. And obviously Albert Pujols playing with the Cardinals when they fucking moved Albert Pujols to third base and traded Scott Rowland, right? Like they traded Scott Rowland because they had Albert Pujols. And even the Angels teams, I believe he was a part of a World Series with the Angels too. And Votto didn't have that. He didn't have that good of a team around him. It's different, man. Get on base 41% of the time. That's a pretty special number. I think
for your career.
Look up here.
Highest career on base percentage.
Let's
see if I can find it.
Career OBP leaders.
Ted Williams looks like he's got the highest.
Yeah, so Joey Votto was 33rd all time. Mike Trout's ahead of him, and that's the only current player that's ahead of him.
They take it out 4 spots, but yeah. And the guys above him are literally like everybody's in the Hall of Fame.
Almost all of them are Hall of Fame, or they would have been if they wouldn't have thrown games or taken steroids.
Correct. Ted Williams at the highest, getting on base 48% of the time.
Yeah, take out these scrubs that have like less than 5,000 plate appearances, because you're talking about Votto's got 8,500, Trout's at 6,300. Like Todd Helton's on this list, Wade Boggs, Stan Musial, Edgar Martinez, Frank Thomas, Mickey Mantle.
Yeah, anybody under 4,000 plate appearances, you got to get out of here.
Yeah,
I need 5 or better.
Lance Berkman's on this list, a little bit
Billy
lower.
Hamilton is 4th.
That's not the Billy Hamilton you're thinking of.
Oh no, it certainly isn't.
This is a Billy Hamilton from like the. Hold on, let me 18.
He was born
1880s, 1890s.
He was born in 1866 in Newark, New Jersey.
Yeah.
Wow.
No, you look up that Billy Hamilton. It's probably less than 300.
The Kansas City Cowboys in 1888. Damn.
Yeah, take those guys out. Take that out.
But that don't count.
Yeah. I know it's included in the stat record, blah, 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 but take that out.
Barry Bonds. Yeah.
I think Barry Bonds is the only person that has more walks than strikeout, or more walks than what was the stat?
Yeah, there's the only 2 active players on this list. Aaron Judge is 82 at that point at 30, 394.
Yeah, but you got to think, man, baseball's different now.
Yeah, Goldie's
a lot different now.
106, Harper's 113. Yeah, nobody's even sniffing like even top 25 except for Trout and Votto.
Mm-hmm.
That's wild.
Mike Trout's a Hall of Famer. Right?
Oh, for sure. First ballot.
So why? Yeah. So Joey Votto should be in that conversation too, and people need to give him.
Is Tony Gwynn's stats better than Votto? Well, I don't know if you can compare Tony Gwynn and Joey Votto, but I guess we'll go ahead and walk down this path.
So I believe that means Joey Votto had a higher on-base percentage than Tony Gwynn, right?
He had to have.
Yeah. So in that statistic,
yes, he has.
Yeah, Joey Votto's.
Yeah, he was like 30 points higher.
Yeah. So Joey Votto's stats are better.
Less hits. Much worse batting average for Votto.
Yeah, Tony Gwynn's like a career 330 hitter though.
338 career hitter. That's wild.
That's like going to the grocery store and being like, "Oh, I'm gonna get this prime rib." Just kidding. I'm gonna settle for a chuck roast. Like, Tony Gwynn is like the.
You want to hear a ridiculous Tony Gwynn stat? I saw a video on this the other day. There was somebody who was doing a podcast interview in what's his face? John Smoltz. And he said between me, Maddox, Martinez, Glavine, the four of us, we only struck Tony Gwynn out. I think it was 3 times.
Yeah, 3 times. 2 times from the Braves, 1 time from Pedro Martinez.
Pedro struck him out once, and Smoltz had the other 2.
Yep. Greg Maddux never struck
Maddux
out.
and Glavine never struck him out. That's insane. They said it was like over like 1,000 or I don't know, like 500-600 plate appearances. Yeah, Justin, absolutely best hitter ever, no question. I don't think there's maybe him and Bonds. I think Tony Gwynn 1A, Barry Bonds 1B.
Man,
you got to put Barry in that conversation.
You're right. No, I'm not. You got to talk. I mean, Ted Williams is in that conversation. Obviously, Pete Rose is the hit king. Like, you got to put him in that conversation. Ichiro. Okay.
I mean, he's got to be in that conversation too.
He's in the top 10. This is such a hard conversation, though. So let's exclude anything prior to like 1970.
Okay.
Because I think that I feel safer having that conversation than I do talking about guys like Ty Cobb and Ted Williams and Babe Ruth and Mickey Mantle and Lou Gehrig. Like, those guys they were all great. I give them a ton of respect. They were all great. But guys like fucking Wade Boggs and Tony Gwynn and Votto and Bonds.
Well, here's my one thing. Justin, he brings up a point here. He says Bonds best power hitter, Gwynn best overall. I don't think there's an argument. I think there is an argument. And I'll tell you why. I know Barry Bonds is the career leader for home runs, and yes, that means he's a great power hitter, but the man had excellent plate discipline as well.
I think I hear you. Having great plate discipline and being a great hitter are 2 very, very different things.
Well, he was both.
I don't think let me circle this thing for you.
Yes, please.
So I don't think Barry Bonds is super far off from being in the conversation of being one of the best hitters that have played the game. Because you look at Barry Bonds in Pittsburgh and early in San Francisco prior to the steroid era of the game, Barry Bonds was a 300 hitter every single year. Barry Bonds had 30 doubles every year and 30 home runs and is unbelievable. But I don't know if there's been anyone that's ever played baseball that could hit and create as much contact as Tony Gwynn did.
Yeah.
Tony Gwynn didn't strike out. And Tony Gwynn didn't really have bad at-bats. That's the thing about Tony Gwynn, too. You look at him historically, and I don't think there's a specific metric that tracks like how many bad plate appearances he had. I'm sure that's out there somewhere in the stativerse that I'm not super familiar with. But
have we talked about his over? Did we do the over-under on his strikeouts for his career?
Yeah, because he has less than 300, right?
No, it's not that low.
Or 500.
Yeah, less than 5.
It's like 470 something.
434 on his career.
Yeah.
That's
insane. That's over 21 years?
That is 20 years.
20 years. So do the math on that. So that's 430 strikeouts over 20 years. Math's tough, but that tells me he struck out about 20 times a season.
Let's see if this is right here.
22 times a year.
This is it right here. Hold on. This is the. I'll put the link on our page for this TikTok about Maddux and Glavine and Pedro. It's a really interesting one to watch.
So let's put this into perspective because I think this is important too. So Tony Gwynn averaged about 22 strikeouts a year over 20 years at 434 strikeouts. Let's just talk about somebody who's a top hitter in baseball right now. Let's say Aaron Judge. Okay. Let's go over Aaron Judge. So let's do Aaron Judge's stats for the year.
Got it pulled up.
We're in 2023.
He's already struck out 50 times.
So Aaron Judge has struck out more than double the time Tony Gwynn would strike out in a year and 2 months of baseball.
Between 2017 and 2019, where he had 2 All-Star appearances, Aaron Judge, that is 6260. He struck out 501 times.
Yeah.
3 years.
So so then all right. So Aaron Judge, people can say, "Oh, Aaron Judge is a power hitter. He's out there for home runs." Let's bring up an average guy. Let's bring up Luis Arias. Luis Arias has the highest average in Major League Baseball. He's been in top 10 in the category the last couple of years. He's a career 320 hitter.
He struck out 9 times so far.
Yeah. So he's already struck out half of the amount of times that Tony Gwynn struck out a year. And last year, he only struck out 43 times. And the year before that, he struck out 48 times. How many times have we talked about Luis Arias on this podcast? Tonight?
Yeah.
Nobody talks about this guy. That's my point, is that we have somebody in today's game that is a very similar hitter to Tony Gwynn, and nobody gives a fuck about it.
I think you also have to attribute, like, there's inflation here, like, because the pitching has gotten insanely better. Now, granted, we're not saying Tony Gwynn went up against complete schmucks, but obviously Glavine and Smoltz and Martinez and those guys, those were some of the upper echelon, pitchers at that time. But you got to remember, they were also not every pitcher was throwing as hard or as well as they were. In today's game, the average fastball is what, 95.3 or something?
94 something miles an hour is 94 the average fastball right now. Yeah.
Back when Tony Gwynn was playing, the average fastball was probably
88,
90, upper 80s, 90.
It didn't hit an average of 90 until after the 2000s.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
Yeah. Well, I think my point being that you're just
absolutely, Justin. It was more about location and control than it was velocity.
What? Yeah. Well, yeah. You had to, right? Because hitters at that point in time were better than pitchers.
Yep.
They're not anymore. Pitchers have surpassed hitting in baseball. The proof is in the stats. Right, there's more strikeouts in the game. A guy like Nick Lodolo starting the year was top 5 in strikeouts and had over a 5 ERA. In 1996, that wouldn't have happened. It's not like Steve Finley was out there striking out 300 people a season. It just didn't happen,
right?
But yeah, so at that point in time, you had to locate well, because an 88 mile an hour fastball is an easy pitch to hit out, and now it's your fifth starter's throwing in the low to mid 90s. It's just such a different game. But
maybe for next week's show, we can kind of dive in on our rankings on who we think's the best hitters of all time. Like maybe give like our top 10 or top 5, and kind of break it down and get a little spicy.
That is spicy. I like that.
I would imagine there would be a lot of debate in that.
Yeah. I don't think
a lot of stats, a lot of debate. Healthy debate, that is.
Yeah, I think our list would be very new. I think that's the interesting thing about it. I think it would piss off a lot of the old heads of baseball, because we're probably not going to talk about.
Justin said, "I'll get mine together. See you next week." Yeah, if anybody wants to join us on this venture, let us know. Quick thing, we're also going to be starting a new segment. We don't quite have a name for it, but it's essentially trivia. And if you guys can stump us, i.e. stump Todd, because you probably stump me. He's more of the baseball wizard than I am. But if you can stump us, you will be crowned the I don't know. We haven't come up with a name for it either. But essentially, we're trying to work out something where we reward you in some type of way for stumping us with a trivia question that is baseball related. So it's a very loose idea at the moment, but if you have any ideas or anybody in chat wants to come in with a random fact or question that you can try to stump us on, we'll give you a little crown.
I like it. We could have a little graphic on the screen somewhere saying who's the crown holder at the moment. Yes. I mean, at a certain point in time, we'll probably if you get enough crowns, there could be.
Ooh, that's a good thing. Merch. Like a little reward system here.
Yeah, you get enough crowns, some free merch in there somewhere.
Oh yeah.
We can if you have a charity that you really support, we can donate to the charity of your choice, whatever the circumstances may be.
Yes. Yeah. So okay. Yeah, that actually sparks quite a few ideas. We can use it for our next charity fundraiser whenever we do a a tournament,
That's
type
right.
deal. So I love that. So this idea, like I said, it's brand new today. We were kind of discussing it and wanted to toss it out there. Usually we come up with better ideas as we continue to talk about it, spitball, and it's getting better already.
It is, and it's no stump to Schwab, but I think I can hold my own if we're like 1998 to now. Yeah. Anything prior to that, it gets a little hairy for me. I have specific players that I could follow their careers, but I don't have.
I do have a little baseball trivia question for you though. What is the what was it? I'm trying to remember where I saw it at. It was what is the rarest play in baseball?
The rarest play?
The rarest play in baseball. It's rarer than a perfect game.
Oh. Is it immaculate?
But when I say it, you'll be like, yeah, it makes sense.
Is it the immaculate inning?
No. It's a good guess.
No. Though. Is it offense or defense?
It is defense.
It's not. Wow.
Josh is close.
Unassisted triple play?
There you go. The unassisted triple play. It's only happened 15 times ever.
Oh, I just want to be clear. I did not see Josh say triple play. That came up like 5 seconds, or as I was saying unassisted as I was coming on here.
Yes, it's the unassisted triple play. I saw it. It's only ever happened 15 times.
That did narrow it down for me a little bit with the defense thing, because in my mind I was thinking it had to be either something pitching wise or something like that. Triple plays happen at least 2 or 3 times a year, but not
the unassisted.
Yeah, 15 times ever in the history of the game.
Ever.
That's interesting. That's a cool fact.
Yeah,
I wonder now, because you have these new pitching rules and stuff, right? How many times? How are they going to track that? Because you track balks, right? Or you don't. Let me rephrase that. You don't really track balks. You don't really track stuff like that. How many times are you going to track a pitcher causing a pitching violation? Who's going to start keeping track of that? Because that has to be a thing.
I'm sure they've got a statistician for that.
There has to be. You got to start thinking about that now, because I think teams can start. Look at Ronald Acuna. How many bases he's stolen from taking advantage of these new rules.
There's going to be a new stat category for it.
Yeah, because he forced. So, or like how
pitch clock stolen bases or something. PCSB.
Yeah, forced pickoffs or forced stolen bases, things like something like that, where Acuna just takes these monster leads and he's 6'4", so he can just dive back and he's back in a nanosecond.
And once he knows he can't throw over again, he's off to the races.
Yeah, it's brilliant. It's brilliant on his part. He's having an MVP year because he has the chance to go 40-40-40 at this current point in time in the game.
That would be insane.
It would be insane. And I think people would try to asterisk that too because of the new rules.
Yeah.
And I think that sucks, because if he's able to do that, which right now he's on pace to do it, it's one of the best years in the history of the game.
If it's within the realms of the game and it doesn't involve steroids, there should be no asterisks. It happens.
It's baseball. Yeah.
Right.
It's you are in conjuncture of the rules at the current time you're playing the game. Right.
Right.
And
absolutely.
I'm sure if, I don't know, let's say a guy like Pete Rose was playing with larger bases and pitch clocks, he probably would have done the same thing. Or, Alex Rodriguez probably would be at top 12 all-time in stolen bases if the current rules existed when he was Ronald Acuna's age going through.
Just imagine how many stolen bases Ricky Henderson would have.
1,000. I don't know. I don't know how many he has total. He might look that up real quick. I don't know. I believe that he had, and while you're looking that up, fact check this too for me. I believe he had 3 years of 100 stolen bases or more, but I could be even light on that. He might have had more than that. Ricky Henderson also played. I'm 32. Ricky Henderson might have played longer than we've been alive, Bobby. I'm not certain on that either. Him and Julio Franco.
He played 25 years. So
yeah, okay.
We're a little bit older than that now. Let's see. Career
Only a
stolen
number, baby.
bases. He had. Okay, what was your original guess on his career?
1,000, somewhere around 1,000.
1406.
God damn, really?
And he had 3 years where he had more than 100.
3. What did I say? 4?
You said 3.
I said 3.
He had 100 in 1980. He had 130 in 1982, and 108 in 1983.
Yeah, him and Vince Coleman were just stealing bags like it was candy from a baby.
Snorting lines and taking bags.
Yeah. and Oakland at that time, he was absolutely doing that. Yes, you're right. I don't.
Can you imagine how fast you could run on coke?
Yeah, if your heart doesn't explode. Ricky Henderson was on the 90s teams or like 80s, 90s teams with McGuire and Canseco too, I believe.
Yeah, I mean, he was with Oakland and up until 1984, and then he went back with them from 89 to 92.
Yeah, so he was with like Canseco, McGuire, Lansford. I believe Ricky Henderson's brother was even on those teams with Ricky Henderson at that point in time.
Ricky Henderson played in 4 different decades.
Yeah. 70s, 80s, and 2000s.
And 2000s.
Yeah.
That's wild.
Yeah.
Not many athletes for 4 decades.
Julio Franco did it too, if I'm not mistaken.
Well, yeah, he played for 40 years.
Yeah. He might still be playing in an independent league somewhere. He's probably down in the DR playing in some pro league down there at this point.
Just hitting bombs.
Yeah, he's 60 still hitting 400-foot home runs. He did. He played for a long time. Julio Franco played for forever.
Yeah, absolutely.
Him and Henderson are the only 2 guys I could think of playing on like Nintendo, Super Nintendo, N64, PlayStation.
They went through all the graphics updates. Them and Tom Brady.
Yeah. Tom Brady definitely did too. You could play with Tom Brady on GameCube and PS5. I don't know if there's too many guys that you can say that could do that either.
So actually, Julio Franco only played in. No, I'm sorry, he played in 4. No, 3. 1, 2. Yeah, he only played in 3 different decades.
Oh, 3.
He only played for 23 years.
Only 23.
Only 23
really?
years. Last
maybe he was
2007.
Okay, so maybe he was just out of baseball before, or like, because I remember
he got into baseball at 23. In his last season, he was 48.
Yeah, maybe that's what. Maybe I'm thinking because he was like 50. Because I know he played for the independent league team that like Roger Clemens' kids played for, and that Tracy McGrady pitched for when he tried to do the baseball thing.
Jeez.
Somewhere in Texas, Gary Gaetti was the manager of that team.
Oh my god!
Yeah, that's a. I like anytime I can throw Gary Gaetti's name out there. I feel like it's been a good night.
It's a great name. All right, chat. Well, we definitely trying to shorten things up. Do you guys have any other questions for us before we wrap this up here in a few moments? I feel like it's been a minute since we were on. Were we on last week? Has it been that much of a roller coaster? Okay, it's just been a long week, but man, it just feels good to get back. The Reds have slipped down into the cellar, which that's obviously not a ton of fun to talk about. But next week we got some fun things to talk about.
You just sparked a new fun thing for us.
We sparked a new fun thing for us. Justin is coming with his list. Your own personal list for who you believe is. I'd say you can probably go 10 spots deep if you want. We'll probably discuss top 5 on our list because I feel like that conversation is going to get long. It's going to be hard to narrow it down to 5. Maybe we have to break it up into 2 episodes. Who knows? But yeah, so we're going to be coming with our list. Be prepared. It'll be a fun discussion. Make sure you come with lots of questions and obviously opinions of your own so we can make it a very fun, interactive show. Todd, you got anything else?
No, I'm good, brother.
All right,
Happy podiversary, my friend.
Happy podiversary. What's been your biggest takeaway over the last 2 years?
Oh man, don't fucking let comments get in your head. I had a hard time with that, man. I had a hard time with that. People, you don't know, but not everyone agrees with what you think, and it was really hard for me to remember that because I'm so statistically oriented, that
Mhm.
most of my opinions are based off of
And
fact.
I feel like I've gotten a lot of that from you as well. Like statistics really drive my thought process these days. Oh, Josh coming with a good question here. I know the answer, so I won't respond. But Josh said there are 3 NBA players who have won the MVP 3 times in a row. Who are they?
Larry Bird, Hakeem Olajuwon, and not Hakeem Olajuwon. Larry Bird, Bill Russell, and Wilt Chamberlain, right?
Yep. We looked that up the other day. We were having a healthy conversation on the Jordan LeBron MVP, and we just went down a rabbit hole, and we started talking MVPs, and just the only reason LeBron doesn't have 5 in a row is because Derrick Rose had that fantastic year in between.
Yeah.
He had
Same
2,
with
and then
Jordan.
Derrick
Same
Rose
with
and then
Jordan.
2.
Jordan should have won it like 7 times in a row, and he never
Yeah.
did. He only has. I think he didn't. Jordan win back-to-back years 3 times. Isn't that the thing, or 4 times? Something crazy.
I don't remember. I didn't dig into it that
I'm
deep.
having a deja. Are you sure? Did we not talk about this last week?
I thought we talked about this last week.
I think I'm having a deja vu moment because I
think we talked about it last week. I think I asked you.
Yeah.
Because we had talked about it last week. Yeah, we were talking about Embiid and Jokic and all that. Yeah.
Yeah, it's like I'm not fucking having deja vu. I was drawing a blank. I thought you're. I thought you were trying to trick, like, catch me off guard.
No, not at all.
You're throwing like a comma into a question I wasn't familiar with.
Nope, all good. All right, well, we're gonna wrap there, chat. Appreciate everybody swinging out tonight. Make sure you come prepare with your list next week and some trivia. Obviously, those trivia questions, we're going to crown the trivia kings and queens, whoever can stump us, and by us I mean Todd. We're going to come up with some type of system, and we'll let you know. But appreciate everybody swinging through. For Todd, I'm Bobby. You guys have a great rest of your evening, and we'll see you guys next week. Peace.